And we're joined now by the opposition leader, Tony Abbott, who joins us from Perth. Mr Abbott, good morning to you.
Morning, Michael.
Are you confident the dark clouds, as the Prime Minister puts it, will now float away from above the Parliament now that she has sidelined both Craig Thomson and Peter Slipper?
Well, she hasn't sidelined Craig Thomson because she's still accepting his vote. And the point that I make and the public understands is that you cannot disown Craig Thomson and not disown his vote without trying to have it both ways. So she's got to disown his vote if she's going to disown him, and the public understand that unless this happens, yet again the Prime Minister is playing games with us. Now, I think that this calls into question yet again the Prime Minister's judgment. It indicates yet again she just doesn't get it when it comes to the seriousness of the allegations against Craig Thomson and also against Peter Slipper.
Well, why should the government refuse to accept Craig Thomson despite all of the allegations against him? A, he insists he's not guilty, and B, he hasn't been charged with anything.
Well, this is an investigation which has been going on and endlessly on. The government has done nothing whatsoever to try to expedite the thing. Mr Thomson himself, who said a couple of weeks ago that he was bitterly disappointed that the Fair Work Australia report hadn't been released, had his lawyers try to prevent the release of the report last week. So, look, this is a government that doesn't play straight with the Australian people.
Everybody, including Craig Thomson, Mr Abbott, is frustrated by the length of the investigation, but I ask you again, why should the government not accept his vote? Because, as we go to where, he A, insists he's innocent, and B, he hasn't been charged with any offence.
Well, he must have done something wrong. Otherwise, the Prime Minister wouldn't have insisted that he leave the caucus. Now, if he's done something that is sufficiently wrong, if he's under sufficient of a cloud to leave the caucus, surely he's under sufficient of a cloud for the government not to accept his vote. If this man is so tainted that he can't sit in the caucus, his vote is tainted and the Prime Minister must not accept it. Otherwise, she's trying to have it both ways. She's playing games with the Australian people. She just doesn't get it.
On that front, the government, as you know, has been making the same argument back at you regarding Peter Slipper. There have been allegations surrounding this man as far back as 2003, yet still the Howard government continued to accept his vote and pre-selected him 9 times.
But there was never any court proceedings against him, and we didn't make him Speaker.
But there were no court proceedings against Mr Thomson either.
Michael, it gets back to the Prime Minister's judgment. Knowing full well that this was an MP under a cloud, the Prime Minister put him into the speakership in a squalid, tawdry deal to prop up her numbers. Now, this is why Labor members of Parliament are increasingly calling into question the Prime Minister's judgment, and this is why Labor members of Parliament are increasingly saying, is Julia Gillard fit to be the Prime Minister of this country?
Well, you've been calling for the weekend for a fresh election. Will you put your money where your political mouth is and move a no-confidence motion once Parliament resumes on Budget Day?
Look, there's no point moving a no-confidence motion until Mr Oakeshott and Mr Windsor wake up to themselves and start listening to their electorate. There's no point moving a no-confidence motion if the Prime Minister is still desperately clinging to the tainted vote of Mr Thomson. Now, the Prime Minister's numbers are shored up by a tainted member, Mr Thomson, and by Mr Oakeshott and Mr Windsor, who refuse to listen to their electorate, and those questions should be addressed to them.